Okay, I know I've missed a couple of days. I missed a couple days streaming. I missed one day of actual programming. But I've been working on a new project. I'm taking a tiny break off of Joust. Um, and actually, so I'm taking a tiny break off of Joust to make this game from my favorite book. My favorite book series, rather. This is not quite right. Let me see. So, oh gosh, okay. Oh god. Where am I? cd git ls. Okay, so if we do a git clone, http / github.com / Beans Lordy / tech.git. Okay. Okay, it's gonna be it's gonna take a little while to download because I've got 9 MP3 files in there, which I'll probably mute or something so that I don't get copyright stricken or whatever. If we nano into our main, we can maybe just don't set the music, you know? So look, full screen is true. We'll actually say, since I've been developing this on my laptop, which has been really nice, it's the different resolution than this monitor is. I guess oh, here. So look, we'll actually just comment this out so it's not playing the music, and we took full screen off. So now we should be able to run it. Nice. So this is what I've got so far. Now, this is a 5x5 grid of a board game, which you can see I've got, you hover over the space to place your color stone, and you can place a white stone or a black stone. But you also have what's called a standing stone, so I can play a standing stone. And I've also got a standing stone for black. And then you can also play what's called a capstone, which you only have one of. So right now, we cycle through play stone, standing stone, capstone. But when we place the capstone, now we only have standing stone or play stone. So same with black. So you can place them, but you can not only just place them, you can also, so on your turn, you can either place a piece in an empty space, or you can move a stack that's in your control. And if we hit help here, I wrote the the rules here, at least some of it. So this is what I've been doing the past week. I haven't been streaming this because I've been doing it on my laptop, and I've just been, just doing 20 minutes here and there, or hour here and there, which is nice because I can sit in the living room or lay on my bed and code, other than standing at the desk here. But I thought it'd be fun to show you guys what I've been working on. So I have been doing stuff. I think I'm sitting around like 600 lines of code or something for this so far. But instead of just placing a stone in an empty space, and see how this highlight is only happening on squares that we don't have something placed in, if our move type is place here. But if we cycle to a move type, then since it's black's move, we can it only highlights what's black. Whereas if it's white and we have a move type, then we can only move white, but that's where the functionality ends. I just ended on the highlight so far, because the next bit is more complicated, because we need to be able to take the stone out of the space it's in and move it in one direction, and then be able to stack it on both other color stones and same color stones, as long as it's a way stone. So that's going to be tough, but that's what's next. So at least we've got, the highlight work in there. So yeah, the grid is like over here 2 5 2 5. That means 2 second row, 5 fifth column. So there's a 5 by 5 grid there. And we're debugging, saying, hey, we're white stone color. The stone type is a capstone, and the control goes to white. So when we add the ability to move stones, then we need to give control to whatever stone is on top. And then in that I've got different loot music playing for this that I've got turned off. Now, one thing that I've had to turn off, see how my mouse is over here, but my highlight is still highlighting it, even though I'm way over here. I've got that fixed. It's just that when I'm trying to print up the debugging, if I'm hovering over there, this would get this highlight select would get nil, and then it can't print. And I'm still confused actually, because it like we're on the debug here, we're printing nil, but if the value itself, no, I don't know why it keeps crashing, but basically, like, as soon as I turn that to become nil over here, it just crashes in the debug. So I've got it fixed, but I can't keep it fixed and have the debugging on. So for right now, it's highlighting stuff even though I'm over here, which is okay. See, because like clicking there shouldn't really place it there, because it's not highlighted, or it's highlighted, but it's not hovering over it. So I think I'm going to see if I can get a little commit on this tonight. Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, if we here, what I'm going to do is just close everything out of Sublime real quick, and then open the whole folder for TAC. And TAC is a game invented by James Ernest and Patrick Rothfuss, and Patrick Rothfuss is the author of the book series that this game is featured in and made up in. So I just thought it'd be cool to build it. That'd be a cool project. Okay. So let's open up our play state. Let's open up our occupant class. Let's open up our member class. I'll show you the board class easy enough. The board just renders the board, essentially, the board object. Our member class, I'm going to talk through, I guess, my reasoning for splitting these up. So the thing is, on the grid, we need to be able to keep track of multiple things. We need to be able to keep track of where the grid is and what index it is so that we can highlight the square. But we also need to keep track of how many members, how many stones, and what the control of those stones and the order of those stones in each grid. So that's where these two classes come in. Member is actually, let me see here. It looks like occupant is the class that tracks the grid, like which grid space it is, and then member is the contents of that space. There's probably better names for it, but that's what I came up with. Oh shoot, no, I'm trying to open up multiple files. How come I can't? Titles, oh no. Play state, occupant, member, okay. And then maybe constants, I don't know. So if we take a look at our play state here, look at all this. This is what our game currently looks like as far as code's concerned. So we give ourselves a grid, a table of a 5x5 grid, and then we populate each index of that 2D array with an occupant that defaults to having no occupants, having no or having a false selection highlight and a control highlight. Those I've separated for reasons for the different move types, whether or not it's occupied, and then a table of its members, which hopefully is going to be, a member is, it's got a stone color, it's got a stone type, and it's also got a stack order, which I haven't added yet. I'm still figuring out. That's like the hard part here. But yeah, we give each index, and this is where it's a little even different. In the field, in the member field of our 2D array, so in each of our grid spaces, we're giving ourselves 10 members. And I'm doing this because in order to track, like we don't want the shifting indices of our members depending on how many stones are stacked. So I'm just giving ourselves 10 members right off the bat, and then we'll populate them with the correct stack order as we move or place stones. So yeah, so I give us 10 members as a field, as an instantiation of a member in our members field, 10 of them in each of the grids. We should probably up that. I'm in the real game. There's no limit to how much you can stack, but I think it's good to give us a little bit of a limit because we need some limit, because in order to render stones on top of one another, I'm gonna have to shrink them so that you can see, what's on what. So I'm thinking 10 is probably gonna be the limit for this for this version of the game. And then we have this table called Control Grid. And that's what we populate with the team that is controlling that grid space. So if a white stone is the top stack in that grid, then our control grid will get populated to be the string white. And then that's how we render highlight different squares depending on which move type you're doing on your turn. So yeah, we've got different tracking the mouse. We cycle through the capstone, or we limit the capstone so we only have one. Why do I do this again? Oh, this is it for resetting. Okay. And then, yeah, change the move type. Okay, look at this. Holy shit. Yeah, I tried to flesh out the next steps, which is we need to cycle through all the occupants and check control, which I need another step, which is add stack order. And then determine color of highest stack order, so we need to figure that out. And then make player control spots clickable for logic. What does that even mean? I think I'm trying to say initiate a move once you've clicked on once your move type was move and you've clicked on a grid space that you have control in, then we need to be able to move that whole stack. And then we then need to render only the orthogonal spaces that aren't a standing stone or a capstone. We need to render the orthogonal spaces that are either that would you have to be either empty or a waste stone of either color. And then once that one is clicked, actually before that's clicked, we actually have to so it's a little different than this. We need to decide how many pieces we want to move before we click. So it's almost like it needs to, I think I'm gonna add stack order for occupants or members, or members. So if there's 2 members, what color is members table at index 2, and then set control to that, right? And then we would cycle through all the occupants, check for control, which is actually, I think we're already doing that in a not expanded way. Like we're doing that right now, which is why we're able to highlight all the members of our color, but we would need to do it once we add stacked, once we can get more than one member in the spot. Geez, that's so much stuff all at once. Because then, we need to check. Make player. I think this needs to be highlight orthogonal spots. With either or that are empty or laystone. And then we need to how many stones to be moved, because you can move as little as 1 stone or as much as 5 stones from a stack in your control. So you have to decide how many, you have to click which stack you want to move, decide how many stones you want to move, click the direction you want to move orthogonally as long as it's empty or a laystone, and then once you move there, you need to decide how many stones you want to drop. You have to drop at least 1. You could drop the whole stack, but you have to drop at least 1. And you can only move in one direction once you drop. So that's why I got like render player control spot highlights. And then, yeah. This is the decide how many stones to drop. Yeah, we need to highlight orthogonally, and then we need to, yeah. Gonna render slightly different color for our first spot, so you can kind of see the trajectory of it, and then arrow key how many stones to drop upon click, lock in that direction, highlight the new appropriate directions with lighter renders on past spaces. Jesus. Arrow keys to drop stone, to decide how many stones to drop. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff, and that's not even all of it, because ideally we also, even before this, we would want to add previous move board state, which entails saving all of the grids and all of the grids members and occupants with, or members and occupants, just members actually, because the occupants don't change. So we just need to add the previous move. I think I would need to say once move is complete, save current board state to undo variable, and then if undo is clicked, revert state player control or end player. Yeah, because we want to be able to undo a move if we accidentally move our stones in the wrong way. So a way to undo that, and that'll also help us in testing. If we get that working sooner than later, we can reset the board state and then try to move and test for those bugs, because look at how many steps we need to do just for this is like the pseudocode for what a move type would need to do. And if we're moving, yeah, so like if we're moving 5 stones, we would need to say, hey, you click on the spot you've got control in, you decide you're going to move all 5 stones, you click the direction you're going to move in, you drop 1 stone, you continue moving, drop another stone, you continue moving, you drop another stone, you continue moving, you drop another stone. So like that's the most you can do in one turn, is a 5 stone move. Whereas in the place move type, all you do is put a stone in one grid spot, and there can only be one stone in any grid spot at the moment. So the order of the stones is what's killing us. The rendering of the stones is what's killing us, and then the direction of the movement is what's killing us. Like all of that difficulty in the move type versus the place move type. And then the other tough thing is we need the undo to be working, and we need the hardest thing, I think, is gonna be having the stones adapt, having the stone renders adapt to what place they're in. Because it's a top-down representation of a 3D game board, we can stack the stones, but if you stack a stone on stone on stone on stone, you only see the top stone. So what I'm thinking is, if a stone, it's like we need to keep track of what color stones are which order in the stack, right? And then every subsequent stack, we render the stone a little smaller. You know, if it's a lay stone, we render it, instead of 144 by 144, we render it 133 by 133 or whatever, just smaller, so that you can see that it's stacked on top of something, and you can see the color underneath it. But if it's on the third stack, we need to render it a little bit smaller so you can see that. But then here's where it gets tricky: is if you have, let's say, 8 stones, it's like stone 1, stone 2, stone 3, stone 4, stone 5, stone 6, stone 7, stone 8. So stone 8 is going to be a little tiny guy, and depending on if there's a capstone on top or if there's a standing stone on top, we got to render it differently than the square, which is already a little tricky. But then where it gets really tricky is when you move it, because, like, let's say we pick up 5, the stones we're picking up are smaller because they're stacked, but then when they place, depending on where they're being placed, they might need to resize dynamically again. So that's just going to be tough. So it's like, I'm at a big hard update to do for this, because this is what my pseudocode for the next step looks like. It's just too much. So it's like I need to do, I don't know what I need to do. It's a lot. We need to decide one step to do, right? So, like, let's just make move one stone, move stone to cursor, take stone out of grid. That's the first thing I want to be able to do. Like, break it down into the smallest piece I can, So let's see what happens right now. Nothing happens when we're in the move state. If we've got 2 down there, we swap to move. It's white's turn, so we're highlighting white. So right now, if it's move turn and we've got control, if we click on the grid, which right now I'm clicking and it's doing nothing, if I click on the grid, what should happen is the stone should come back to my mouse, and the stone should come out of that grid, and then the grid should stay highlighted with a slightly different color, I think, so that you can see. Ideally what would happen is we would click, the stone would follow our mouse, this grid would be pink, and then every empty orthogonal space, which is all 4 at the moment, would become red because we can move that stone in any of those spaces. So that's the first step. So, yeah, what would we do? Still select. Okay, jeez. It's so hard to think about. There's so many things. Let's just see. God, it's hard for me to focus right now. Okay, this is what we want. Right now we've got, if move type is place, do all these things. But if the move type, if we're clicked, so if our move type is move, and it's not right here, we're checking that it's not occupied, but we actually need to make sure that it is occupied. So, and not only is it occupied, but it's occupied by our occupied by a stone of our color. But so the hard thing is here, this 2-dimensional array is filled with objects called occupants, and those occupants have a table of members associated with them, but the field .occupied is actually a field within an occupant object. Yes. So when we access this, okay, so yeah, I mean, we don't need to access this for this way. It's hard to wrap my head around. So what this line of code is at is our mouse was pressed, our left mouse was pressed, and the mouse grids were not nil, which means we were clicking on a grid. But we need to check, just like how we're only rendering if we have control, which we can see. Right there. Control highlight is a field of a Boolean class. Yes. So we can say if our grid control highlight is true, we would need to do a nested for loop here. So we can check all the occupants control highlight field, and if it's true and we clicked, that's when we would need to take the occupant. We would need to overwrite. It's so hard because there's like a way to build it so it works with one stone, but then knowing that we need to add multiple stones, the one stone fix isn't scalable. So I'm trying to think of how we would do it with multiple stones so that we don't have to get something working and then tear it apart and then build the real one, you know? But I might be just getting too ahead of myself and I just need to get anything working first. It's just like, this is the hardest skill in programming, to try to set yourself up for success, you know, depending on what your program needs, and to try to not really just be efficient, but like, you know, I want to try and do it in a way that is scalable. I want to kind of ultimately default to a way that makes things scalable, but it's hard for me to wrap my head around what's possible and what needs to happen. It's all just so abstract. But I guess if we do a nested for loop just like this, where we say up in our key press logic here, for I gets 1, 5, do for j gets 1, 5, do. So we're checking every single grid, every single control highlight boolean in our grid, which has the effect of ensuring that whatever we do, we only do the move. We only do the move which is going to be take the stone out of the space and render it at our mouse position. We only do that if control highlight was true in that grid and we were clicked. So if control highlight is true, then we need to remove stone in that grid and render stone to mouse position. So how would we remove the stone from that grid if we are clicked on a control highlight is true? Control highlight just means that we have control of the stack. I call it highlight because that's what I'm using to highlight what we have control. So there's probably a better name for that, yeah, like control of stack boolean or something. And it's not actually, yeah, it's an occupant control highlight gets true or false. So yeah, we might want to do something different. We might want to give it a string field that says, you know, we're stack control gets a field of a string or something, you know, like I'm just like gonna write the stand-in code here real quick. Like it's a stack control field that is a string, right? And it's either gonna be white, black, or nil or whatever. So instead of, yeah, we would assign stack control to be a string of whoever's in control of it, and we would assign that based on how many members are in the grid and what is the color of the member in the highest index, you know. So there's 2 members, member 2 is black, therefore stack control is a string called black. And then we would be able to do, it wouldn't be this, it would be like if stack control is black, then, or whatever. Yeah, but then it's different because we need to check which player. Yeah. We need to check which player. So like, oh God. Now this control highlight is only relevant to what player? No? What player we're at, so the check. Oh my gosh, my brain is exploding. So look at here, we set selection highlight, so control highlight. Our move type is move, and we're the player 1. Okay, so we set control highlight depending on the player. So we shouldn't have to worry about that. And we do that before the click detection. So if the control highlight, that's already taken into consideration what player we are. So if we're the wrong player, control highlight will be false, and when we click on it, it won't do anything. So how do we remove the stone in that grid? Well, it depends how we're tracking the stones upon a placement. So let's see what happens when we click. Look, what happens when we click is we overwrite our members index to be hard-coded at 1. See, this is another thing that is like right here. You know, we can't hard-code in this one in the final version. It's like we need to take our member and we need to reset it, which we can see here when we populate them. We give it we populate the field with 4 parameters. There's an X and a Y of the stone, which gets assigned to the grid in our nested for loop here. So what we need to do is overwrite these 2 values, which is the stone color, stone type, and oh, see, look, we have a control in our member. Okay. Jeez. So instead of and member as a class actually holds okay. So yeah, our occupant class should probably be called occupants. It's like whatever's living in that space, and the member is the stone, you know, we place in a table in a field called members in our occupants class. Instantiations of members, which members are just a color, a type of stone. And see, I don't like, yeah, this shouldn't be, the self-controlled shouldn't be unassigned here. I don't think we want that here. I'm gonna leave it on. Since the control is only relevant to the grid, not the members. Because if a member has a control, it can be stacked upon, so then it loses it or whatever. So we want our occupant to have control, yeah, which is this. Yep, okay. So yeah, I think I'm on the right track with that. So we would need to say, hey, overwrite the member that was there. Don't overwrite its X and Y position, but overwrite its stone type and stone color, or stone color, stone type. Stone color, stone type upon a click. So we're going to say, grid at ij dot members, which is a table of member objects, but we want to access the first index, which when we add stacking, we need to change this. But for now, I'm going to take that only member that's in there, and you're going to overwrite its stone type, stone color to get nil, and its stone type to get nil. Now I want to check how we're actually rendering the stones. Render stone selection at mouse position. Renders here. So yeah, we're just rendering the members. So inner member. If our stone color is set to something, then we're actually rendering. And then depending on the type. Okay. So yeah, if our stone color is nil, it should not render that stone anymore. Yeah. So when we click if the grid is in our control, then we're going to rewrite the stone color and the stone type in that grid at its first member's index to become nil. So let's see if clicking in a move type clicking in a grid space that we have control in, which should be highlighted, if clicking it would stop rendering the stone in that space. So place to move type move. We've got white, so if I click on this, it should say, if I click on this, since our move type is move, it's going through the grid, seeing that the move that we click on, let's see, mouse grid. Yeah, we need to use the mouse grid. Mouse Y grid, mouse X grid. So we need to say not IJ, but if the mouse Y grid, mouse X grid. Because actually, yeah, I do think we need to do this. The mouse Y grid gets populated with the index of the row my mouse is in, and then the X grid gets populated with which column my mouse X is in. So if it's clicked and we have control, then the grid that's under our mouse dot members dot first member gets its stone color assigned at nil. Let's see if that stops rendering our stone. So place, move type, move. Now if we click, and took it away. Now we still have control being white, which is not correct. We need to take we look at our debugging at what our control is being printed up, which is since it's in our 2D array of grid, that means it's an occupant dot control. Huh. It's actually a member. But how are we accessing it? Because see, if it's a member, we would need to access the members field. Control. Let me just. I don't really care if I completely understand. I'm just trying to get. Trying to see if I can get that to be correct. So like the dot control also gets assigned, or what does it start out to be? Hold on. I want to see what that value starts at. It's a nil. So we'll say also set our control in that space to become nil. So place, we're gonna move. Now we click, and now see how it's no longer highlighting because we took our control off. So I guess we can leave this on just for now to keep it highlighted, because we need to come up with some way to keep the spaces highlighted during the move before your move's over. So yeah, I don't know, fucking crazy. Yeah, and then we need to, so remove the stone in the grid, which we do, and then we need to render the stone of whatever it was at the mouse position, which I think we could figure that out soon. We just need to say how right now, render stone selection at mouse position. What we're doing is saying right here, render a stone here. So we need a stone select and a player. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna figure this out right now. We've got the disappearing stone. We need to say something like, before we disappear the stone, we say, hey, what was in that space we just clicked on, which at this moment we know it can only be a member one of a type that our player is, the same color of our player, same color of our player's pieces, and it's a laystone, actually, yeah. So we would say, okay, render a laystone of our player's color at the mouse location once we're clicked. So yeah, we'll have to do that. I'm not gonna figure that out just yet, but we just, because yeah, right now it's like we're rendering things based on what our move type is, but what we need to add is our move type. If we're in move type, once we've clicked on an active space, then we need to render something different until our move is finished. It's just, yeah, that's just really tricky. I'll keep chugging along at it. I'm deciding whether or not to program TAC on stream, or if I should continue to only do Joust on the stream. I've been enjoying doing TAC on my laptop because I can do it anywhere in the house or whatever. I don't have to be standing at this specific computer. So it's nice that I can just, if I get an idea for something, I can go pop it out on my laptop. But yeah, I don't know. If anyone watches this, let me know if you want to see Just Joust, or if you don't mind seeing TAC stuff. I think I'm gonna default to, I'm just trying to program every day, trying to get a commit every day, and then if I happen to be feeling like I want to do a session where I'm up at the computer, it's easy to do that session. Or if I program on my laptop all day, get a little feature done, then maybe my stream for the day is just talking over the code that I did for that day. I'm not sure. But we're making progress. We're starting to wrap our heads around how we need to pull this off. The trickiest thing is probably this, where right now, since we know what stone is in what square, because it's so simple and we can't stack stones yet, it's pretty easy. And this is the part I'm stuck at, and I'm saying it's easy. But it's going to be much more difficult once we start stacking all those stones, and we need to come up with a way of tracking that. And then the tricky part is tracking the workflow, or tracking the flow of operations once we've initiated a move, because the move isn't over, and right now we're rendering something based on a move, which once we click, we need to render something different. So we need to think about how that needs to evolve and change, which is tough. But we take a look at our git diff. All we really did was we added some more nodes. We added the deletion of the stone upon clicking. That's basically all we did. So commit with a message saying remove stone upon clicking while in move. Or put move in quotes. And then I'm going to git push it to our origin main. Oh no. Oh no. We shouldn't be doing this. Git remote -b. We're at our HTTPS. We need to get remote set URL origin to become get shit. I always forget this. Get remote set your origin. Get remote set URL origin. And then our SSH is get at github.com /beans /tech.git. Yes. Now if we get remote -v, we should see our SSH, and then if we get push that, it worked. I did it. Because you can't push HTTPS anymore, Git doesn't allow you, so gotta do it with SSH. We got it. Pushed it, and then my laptop will have to put full screen back on and turn the music back on or whatever, but that's okay. So yeah, well, we got, all we did today was literally this, remove the stone by doing this. That's all we did, but we're wrapping our head around the complexity of the code, so we're making progress. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and we'll I'm trying not to take too long to break off Joust. because we were making such good progress on that. I just did really get excited about this project, so I think it's okay to switch projects, but I don't want to make it a thing where I just never finish Joust. But I'm definitely at a point in Joust where it's difficult, so my brain wants to just not work on it because it's so difficult. Like, it's not easy. So it's fun to prototype smaller things, which TAC is no longer a smaller thing because it's getting more complicated. But I'm gonna be at a point where it's hard to make progress in either of these projects, and then at that point, I'll just program whatever, and I'll hopefully make progress in either and both. But yeah, it's fun. You can download this and play along from the Git repo. Just download Love2D, it's free. You can download the folder and you drag and drop the folder from my Git repository. You just drag the whole folder onto Love, and you can run it and play it and tweak the code too if you want to do that. But yeah, see you guys. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be streaming again. I'll be coding regardless, but I'm gonna try to keep streaming active because I just really love it.